and they want to try the product, and then only they will buy. That is the kind of confidence they get, you know.
Right.
तो आज
So
के दिन
also just
बहुत बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियां जो है, they are holding huge inventories. Now imagine holding huge inventories is one thing, closing stores are closed, warehouses are full. Now what is going to happen? You know, finances are blocked. So it is not only holding inventories, it is going to be a deep financial crisis, you know.
right. So also just to inform everyone, we are definitely collecting questions and comments from everybody. तो आपको अगर आपके पास कोई क्वेश्चन है या कोई कमेंट है तो आप चैट विंडो में इधर पोस्ट कर सकते हैं एंड वी विल ब्रिंग इट अप विद अमित जी ड्यूरिंग द डिस्कशन. Sir, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a question that has been posted by a person called Krishnaji Daga.
Yes, please.
Just 2 minutes back. The question is कि अभी इतना लॉकडाउन होने के बाद आपके हिसाब से what will be the situation posted in terms of prices? Will there be a huge drop in prices or would the prices sustain? If not, then how long will it take to actually come back on track? Like for example, I've heard recently that CCI in India is continuously buying cotton and they're buying cotton at the MSP. Other traders in the market are actually not able to buy cotton because they already have inventory at which was bought at a certain price level. So now when the
Right.
market restarts, CCI will not be selling at a discounted price. So spinning mills might face a lot of problem because उनका purchase cost जो रहेगा raw material का बहुत high रहेगा. But on the other hand, the weavers will be expecting a lower prices.
Absolutely. When you talk about price drop, आज के दिन मार्केट में प्रेशर इतना आ गया बिकॉज इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में रिक्वायरमेंट एक तो बहुत कम रहेगी एज कम्पेयर टू व्हाट इट वाज. सेकंड, इवन द डोमेस्टिक मार्केट, यू नो, सो मिस्टर दागा ने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा कि भाई व्हाट इज गोइंग टू बी द इंपैक्ट ऑन द प्राइस. आई ऑलरेडी सी कि प्राइसेस 10-20% तो नीचे गिर चुकी है मिनिमम, बट तो भी आज के दिन बायर नहीं है, लेबाल नहीं है. सो अल्टीमेटली व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन इज, अगर मिल्स खुल भी गई और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग स्टार्ट भी हो गई, तो who are going to be the ultimate buyers, you know, and how are they going to cope up with this price? So there will be a lot of desperate selling as on date. But मेरा एक ही सजेशन है सबसे कि जहां जहां जो जो माल बिक जाए आज के दिन, we should not hold inventories, keeping in mind कि अरे ये भाव बढ़ेगा और ऐसा होगा, and you know there are a lot of ifs and buts. So ifs and buts will not help in today's time. That is one. Second, you know, when you sell, you need to be sure. आपने एलसी ले ली, बहुत अच्छी बात है, बट यू नो स्पेशली व्हेन यू डू एफओबी शिपमेंट्स एंड यू हैव शिपमेंट्स इन नेक्स्ट 2 to 3 वीक्स, अगर सामने वाली पार्टी ने कंटेनर नहीं भेजा लोड करने के लिए, तो एलसी एक्सपायर हो जाएगी. एलसी एक्सपायर हो जाएगी, इसका मतलब है कि आपके माल घर पे रह जाएगा. सो यू हैव टू बी एक्सट्रीमली कॉशियस व्हाइल डीलिंग इन, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट स्पेसिफिकली इन एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट. ट्राई टू डील ऑन सीआई बेसिस and do all your contracts on CI basis. Why? Because this could be a big risk factor in today's pattern. आज के दिन समझिए एक पर्टिकुलर यार्न का रेट है समझिए $3.80, बट जब तक 3 हफ्ते में माल तैयार होगा और शिपमेंट की तैयारी होगी, तो वो प्राइस आ जाएगा $3.20 पे अज्यूम करते हैं. और अगर सामने वाले ने कंटेनर नहीं लगाया आपको आपके पास लोड करने के लिए फैक्ट्री में, तो आपके पास कोई उपाय नहीं बचेगा, वो एलसी एक्सपायर हो जाएगी एंड यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू एक्चुअली फिजिकली डिलीवर द शिपमेंट.
Right. Also, when we speak specifically about polyester or texturized yarns, which are heavily dependent on crude, and we've all seen how crude has performed recently. Similar
Right.
to this, we have a question also from Mr. Seth. He says कि आपके हिसाब से पॉलिस्टर और टेक्सचराइज यार्न का कंडीशन क्या रहेगा?
See, normally fiber follows fiber, जो हम हमेशा एक ट्रेंड देखते हैं. अगर कॉटन यार्न गिरेगा, विस्कोस यार्न गिरेगा, तो डेफिनेटली इट विल अफेक्ट एंड इम्पैक्ट ऑन अदर फाइबर्स आल्सो. बट आज की सिचुएशन जो है, and whatever I understand when I talk to the guys in China also, most of their polyester is used for manufacturing of the medical and productive products. So उनका कंजम्पशन पॉलिस्टर का आज के दिन जो है मेजरली समझे मास्क में चला जा रहा है या पीपीई प्रोडक्ट्स में जा रहा है. सो आई थिंक when we compare, India will always have an edge, and China will not be competing in a big way on a global scale. Why? Because उनका खुद का self consumption है आज के दिन तो.
Right. Actually, I think most of the people are discussing this thing कि हो सकता है India will benefit from this vis-a-vis China, and probably exports from our country will definitely flourish.
So that's the point, that is what I mentioned. कि Chinese जो yarn बेच रहे थे आज के दिन, and whatever their exports was, so they will be doing a lot of self-consumption actually to manufacture ready products, and that's what is happening as on date. So when you
Right.
talk about specifically in polyester, India will have an edge, and it will be a plus for India. Of course, drop होंगे price, no doubt about it, but it will not be the same like it will be in other fibers.
If you don't mind, sir, I'd like to ask you something not specific to business, but आज अपने current situation की बात करें. So, say for example, government का जो role है now. I was watching a nice webinar by the owner of Team Lease, Mr. Manish Sabarwal, and if you know Mr. Nikunji Bagadia from Ken Enterprises, HL Ganeji, he had suggested me to watch it. It's a very, very good webinar by him. And he correctly said that now the government is under an obligation to follow a sequence, where the sequence he suggested is that the first thing that the government has to deal with is the virus. The second thing they have to deal with is the poor citizens. Then comes the economy. Then comes the employers, which are all the companies, and then the financial system. And our government may not be that equipped to actually deal with the employers especially. So for example, US has already announced a $340 billion plus grants or loans to small businesses, right? US and Europe collectively have allocated about $8 trillion of package in terms of debt and subsidies to all the employers, which is approximately 2 years of corporate profit. India, do you think our government has the the tool to actually intervene and make sure that the industries are financially healthy and probably take help of the central bank in doing so?
See, let me add here, ये जो figures आ रहे हैं Europe के, US के, but when we really talk to the people in the industry out there, they are really not getting the same kind of help. So, if you talk about government of India or government in Europe or government in US, ये सब सिर्फ बातें हैं. Real help, I have not heard actually from people across the industry. They say, my cost is going to be X, and I have been offered, hardly something which is peanuts, which will not even cover my cost, or even, it will be major loss for the company. So when you talk about, keeping the employees, the employment on, ultimately, a lot of companies are going to face the heat, You have
Right.
to reduce your cost reduction करना पड़ेगा, and unfortunately, it will hamper into ultimately firing more people, into the industry. Unfortunate situation है, whether it is Europe or whether it is US or whether the same is going to be with India. But India के पास एक बहुत बड़ा plus point है कि our cost of manufacturing is much low, our wages are much lower, and the opportunities of exporting, if they open a partial lockdown also, we can still export. But what about these European manufacturers who were manufacturing for the European market?
Right.
So there are going to be certain manufacturers who will be allowed to manufacture depending on the zone. If they are in the city, then yes, definitely that manufacturing hub is not going to open. But if they are beyond the border limits of the city, then yes, definitely there will be manufacturing which will be allowed, and permissible.
Okay. But also, sir, as we all know that the entire industry, whether it is textile or most of the other commodity industries, it functions on a credit cycle, where credit over the past few years have always increased. आज जब industry resume होगा भी तो how difficult would it be to actually from a credit or liquidity point of view to actually come back on track?
Oh, that's going to be a big challenge. So trends are, when people were giving LC 90 days, the new trend will be, LC 180 days or LC 230 days or say 360 days, which will be longer terms of credit if you really want to be reliable supplier to your client. And willingly, a lot of companies have to offer this. And I assume the Central Bank of India has to really think of a tool where they will do a cheap discounting, especially for such credits which has been extended, because these are going to be confirmed LCs. It has to be confirmed LCs, no doubt. We have to offer, besides price, a longer payment term to cover up and get back to the same cycle, which may take at least 2 years. That is what my thought is. When I'm talking to my clients today, we willingly are offering them 6 months credit. There is no other way out. There is no other way out, because I know that if he started manufacturing, he has to first pay his wages. Where is going to pay for my raw material? My raw material prices, or the cost which he has to pay for the raw material, it has to be the last in a way in the entire chain. So first he has to pay wages, take care of his factory, export the goods, expect a payment from their final clients, and this cycle takes minimum 6 months. So these are the kind of comfort we have to understand in the industry. Or alternatively, you take a haircut, you offer them extremely interesting prices. So he will arrange maybe some finance from the local market itself, if he sees a benefit out of this.
Right. So actually, just relating to this, we have a question from Mr. Uchiji Shah. His question is, how do you suggest we get the funding for the working capital for the initial first few months after the production resumes? And he's also added that the buyer will want a longer credit cycle, as we've discussed. However, the fixed and variable cost will have to be incurred continually.
These are the tools which has to be actually questioned to the banks out there and to the government of India. I can tell you more about Europe. There are European Union funds available. There are possibilities of, in case you are an exporter or you have a confirmed order, the bank is willing to finance you on those contracts. So that's a big advantage and a big go out here. But I assume that the same is going to be in India. You need to talk to relevant bankers or financial institutions who are able to offer these kind of tools.
Right. Right. But what is your view, sir? So I have a statement that most people feel that larger companies are actually in better position to come out of these crises compared to, say, an SME or an MSME, because probably because they have the right formal financial system at their disposal.
I would rather put it this way. Today, larger the company, the larger the mess. Why? Because उनके cost बड़े हैं और वो कभी कम नहीं हो सकते, and they cannot reduce it overnight. So we are, in fact, the industry should be lucky, and it's going to be the time where the future is going to be, the MSME who are going to be seeing a big growth in their business, because the owners are managing a lot of things. Their costs are less, they're more efficient, and when you look at their chain of manufacturing, they do a lot of outsourcing as compared to big giants. So today, being the biggest or being big is going to be a curse, unfortunately, for at least for the coming months or a coming period, of 1 or 2 years.
With that note, sir, let's move on to the next segment of the agenda. We've discussed the impact of the current lockdown situation on business, including textiles. The next segment is what will be the new way of doing business post lockdown? Do you think there'll be the way we do business will change drastically? Will there be more professionalism? Will service or customer centric thing actually start mattering now?
Absolutely. It is going to be a great turnaround in terms of when you talk about new business ethics. You will see a complete change in the method of business. And if you're fortunate enough and if you have a client you've been dealing for many years, you will see that he may give you a preference over his new suppliers. And I'll just give you a small example. So in last 5 weeks or 6 weeks of lockdown, what we did is, one thing was, we were in constant touch with our clients. So day one, when he opens, he thinks about us. He is not going to think about a new supplier. And that relation, to maintain that relation, to be in touch with them, of course, not to bother them too much, but time and again, talk to them, and give them important feedback of what you hear from the industry. Then not only talking about negative things, but sometimes about positive things, sometimes about the policy change, and ask them and discuss with them what are the policy changes. I'll give you a few examples. I was talking to a few of my European clients, and I told them that these are certain policies. I've heard the European Union has actually implemented, and some of them they didn't know about this. They said, "Thank you so much. Can you please send me those articles, those information? And if somebody has done this or implemented this, can you please guide us or can you connect us with those guys, to understand how they have implemented and how they are using these tools." So today together, united, we have to, as an industry, exchange ideas. Normally क्या होता है कि वो बोलता है, अरे, I'm benefiting from this. Why should I share this with the industry? So what will happen is, if somebody in the industry is not benefiting out of this, whether he may fall out or he may start selling the products at dumping prices. So one has to be extremely careful. Today you need to support as an industry, क्योंकि आज आपने उनको information दी, कल आपको भी information आ सकती है उनसे.
Right.
So new methods, new way, more communication within the industry. Like you have taken this wonderful initiative as Yarn Bazaar to get the industry on a common platform to discuss and understand, what are their thoughts, what is happening out here, what are the business practices. Unfortunately, Europe the industry is facing a huge heat. Why? Because even February or March mein jo shipments पहुंच गए थे customers के पास, they are literally calling in terms of returning those goods. They say we will not be able to pay. Can we please return the goods back, or if you file Chapter 11, then it will be a major issue for you guys.
And I remember you've already shared a couple of articles with me over the past week where many big retail chains have already filed for bankruptcy.
Right. So as we see what is happening in the US or in Europe, I don't want to name, but I was talking to a guy day before. Let me put it this way: companies like Next, they're not going to open their stores, because with social distancing, with the kind of cost, with the implementation of new rules and regulations, it's not going to be viable for them. So most of these companies are going to go online, e-commerce, and in e-commerce it's not the same quantity what you normally sell through your stores. So there will be challenge. There will be challenge which will be faced by the industry.
So also, just to continue that part of retail discussion, we have a question from Mr. Akashji Maheshwari, who says that what changes should we expect in terms of consumer behavior for apparel purchases post lockdown? And an extension to that, he's written that don't you think that no one will actually be interested in purchasing clothes also, since all social gathering like weddings, events, etc. have been banned or say postponed? Will there be any incentive for people to purchase new apparels?
A very interesting question asked by this gentleman. Let me put it this way. Yes, for the time being, maybe for a period of say 6 months, 1 year, the priorities are going to be completely different. But gradually, it's a human nature. If you start going to your office, if you start actually socializing, maybe with the social distancing, so it's not going to be complete lockdown. It's not going to be forever. It's going to be a new way of living the life actually. And that's what we are doing as on date, with the webinar. Even in your offices, when you go, you need to be trendy and you need to be smart actually. Yes, I know that for weddings and for all those, the priorities are going to be different. The closest family probably may spend some money on their shopping, but it's not going to be, definitely there is going to be a change in the trend, and there will be a drastic drop.
So retail will probably take a very long time to recover, which will actually have an impact on the entire value chain then.
Definitely, yes. Retail is going to impact,
Okay. Let me read out a couple of more questions from this segment. So there's one question related to the European textile market scenario. So Riteshji Dodia is also here with us. Ritesh ji, welcome and thank you for attending. He's the owner of Dodia Group, which we just discussed that they've just started or resumed their production. He's asking what and how will the European textile market scenario after the lockdown on the percentage wise. I'm not sure if I understand the question well. Let me try and read it again. How and what will be European textile market scenario? Okay, after the lockdown.
See, short term, all markets are going to face problem, but long term, Europe is going to increase their manufacturing, and they will be looking at cheaper destinations where they can manufacture goods because they want to keep things in terms of in supply chain much easier, much flexible, much faster. And those days will be gone where the retailers are going to place orders 6 months in advance or 8 months in advance. They would, a lot of them would prefer actually to place quick orders, get short deliveries, get short quantities, which will be more easy and more manageable for those companies. But this may take some time, this may take some time because the industry need to be upgraded, and manufacturing was not the priority for textiles in Europe. But when we talk about European textile industry, there will be a lot of upgradation, there will be a lot of new value addition, but this will be only in the period of say next 6 to 18 months, not on an immediate basis.
Okay. So I think with that, let's move on to the next segment of the session, which is business recovery. So how do we ensure growth post lockdown? Is there any business practices to be followed? Any suggestion from your end?
This is extremely a tricky question. Why? Because when you financially get involved with any of the clients, and with the present scenario, everything looks to be extremely risky. You need to use your tools, you need to use your gut feel in terms of dealing with the client and be in touch with them on a regular basis. I know today visits are not possible because normally what we used to do is, time and again we used to visit our European clients to see what is happening, visit their possible warehouse or a factory, and that gives you a right feel that yes, everything's functioning right and in a proper way. So there are tools like one has to find a way. I know that in India, ECGC is one way which keeps a track on what is happening with the companies, and of course, if you have local agent today, I think a lot of local agents are going to be playing a very important role. Let me add here, they are going to be your eyes and ears actually of the industry because they get a lot of local information. So this is an extremely important point which I would like to add is have somebody if you trust. I know it's going to cost you some money to get an agent or deal through agents, but they may give you a lot of right information of the market.
Right. So there's a question from Mr. Rajendra ji, who's asking if, according to you, business size will reduce. Is it that we'll have smaller companies now? Is there likely to happen filter in Indian textile industry? What will be the payment terms? Okay, so let's focus on the main question, which is, do you think that size of businesses will reduce?
And definitely yes. Short term, yes. Maybe after 2 years when the economy starts recovering, gradually there will be an increase, But yes, immediately there will be a drastic drop in business.
बिकॉज ऑल्सो सर स्पेशली टेक्सटाइल में बोलते हैं कि बहुत रिलेशनशिप ड्रिवन इंडस्ट्री है. सेल्स विजिट कस्टमर विजिट्स बहुत करने पड़ते हैं. आज ट्रैवलिंग उतना इजी नहीं होगा जितना पहले था लॉकडाउन के पहले. लाइक एज यू ऑल्सो राइटली सेड कि सेल्स ट्रिप माइट बी लेसर. हो सकता है कि आपके जिधर ट्रिप्स होने उधर कुछ गवर्नमेंट मेजर्स है जिस वजह से आप ज्यादा ट्रिप्स नहीं कर सकते हो. So this will either impact the business or the way of doing business will change. Probably there'll be more uh, video conferencing. Probably people will be more inclined to using digital tools. So, in your opinion, what is the main like tool that we can use?
I would like to emphasize again on what I mentioned in my previous, answer is you need to have your local representatives in certain countries who are going to be our eyes and ears. And it is extremely important अगर आपको business long term करना है with new practices in place. So they will give you a lot of important information of what is happening and giving the pulse of the market. So one, the credibility of a client. Second, what is happening with the price. Third, what is happening with the market, because you are not able to personally visit the client. And not many of us are going to be actually taking this risk also. Even if the lockdown opens, there will be a new way of traveling. Of course, for when you talk about it for next 6 to 18 months at least, I'm talking about as on date. Maybe after 18 months, things may improve. The risk factor is going to be much less. But आज के दिन तो सब everybody is in a panic actually.
Also, since we are discussing new way of doing business, we have received many questions actually from people asking, will there be a shift in the product range? So, for example, with the majority of the companies used to focus on commodities. Most people are wondering that if medical textile or technical textile will go up because of the current scenario.
Oh, we already see that, there is already a huge demand. So when I talk to certain European manufacturers who are having stitching facilities, they were manufacturing apparels for the European industry, they have already moved their manufacturing, many of them for manufacturing of masks, for garments which are required actually for the hospital industry, for the medical industry. So there will be definitely a shift.
Right.
But these are going to be, we need to remember, these are going to be for short term. Why short term? Because till the time market doesn't get enough quantities, whether it is from import or from the local manufacturers, the demand is still going to be there. So today is the time actually, if somebody has a manufacturing unit or able to manufacture garments, for the medical industry, then definitely it's worth giving a shot, whether it is for exports or for the domestic market.
Right. And we have a question from Sharad ji, who's asking what leadership qualities will be key to lead organizations through this crisis period now and especially post the lockdown.
Sharad ji has given a
I
very
think this is
interesting.
an extremely relevant question for you, considering your leadership qualities and how you've built Sharda Group.
See, I can only tell you, this takes building anything takes, a lot of effort, time, energy, and it's not a overnight job. It takes years, and I've been doing that last 21 years. So, having presence of India into Central European market when nobody thought about Central Europe, we came here, we took that risk, and people recognize us. They in fact, we work on ethics. So they have a great respect for when they think about India, they think about us normally. So if we follow the same trend in any business, you cannot see a decline in your business. Yes, time being, short term, there could be crisis, but long term, when people think about doing anything, any business in a particular product range, they will always think about us.
Right. And we have another question from Mr. Mukund Rajanji. If I'm not mistaken, he's the one who leads yarn sales at Vama, which is a LMW group company. So he's asking, according to you, whether this pandemic will change the mindset of European buyers about their purchase patterns.
In which sense, for raw materials, for ready products?
We can take it as a general question, so probably across the value chain.
See, when you talk about, yes, e-commerce is going to grow gradually, and it's not going to be the same. So it will have an impact, definitely, and the patterns are going to be changed, no doubt about it. We already see a change. In fact, when I talk to my clients, it's not the same. We are supplying garments, we supply home textiles, it's not the same.
So, because you also have a large bouquet of products in the entire value chain, where you think which segment of textiles you think will be most impacted or least impacted?
See, the apparel business is going to be definitely going to be having a large impact when you compare it to other sectors, and anything which is fashionable, fancy, uh, we will see an impact on that. And people, who were buying expensive brands, they will be buying something more trendy, but maybe with different brands. Their patterns of purchase is going to be. That is what my thought is.
Okay, understood. And we have a question from Mr. Sanjay Ji Rathi who's asking which type of industry will be most affected in the whole value chains? So, say right from beginning to apparels. Do you think is it that spinning will be more impacted because of the higher capex and labor on their payrolls, or do you think apparels will be most impacted?
See, apparel is going to be more impacted. I'll tell you why spinning is not going to be impacted so much as compared to the garment manufacturers or exporters. Why? Because yarn is used for multiple purposes. If not A product, it can be a B product. If not B, it can be a Z product. So that flexibility that spinner is going to always have.
Hmm.
Whereas when you talk about in garments, the guy is dealing on a specific product range. He cannot manufacture out of the blues, assuming mattresses from his manufacturing of garments. But whereas the yarn can be used for multiple purposes, whether it is for garments, whether it is going to be for mass, whether it is going to be for technical textiles, or whether it's going to be for automotive sector.
Right. I think that's a very interesting point because of the flexibility. Like it's because it's not a finished product, and so things like yarn or say raw cotton will not be as impacted, and something like finished apparel
We will see
will
an
be more
impact. Yes,
impacted.
price-wise, there will be always a pressure because there will be oversupply in the market. But it's not that they are not able to get orders or they will be, not able to sell their products. When you talk about the value added chain, yes, those companies who are doing ready products, they will be facing a lot of heat and challenges.
Right. And we have a question from Mr. Ankush Ji, who's asking who's asking for your opinion, which is so most of the companies which actually do not manufacture on order basis, how do they estimate the demand and how do they decide on what percentage of production they should be starting with?
I didn't get your question, because is it for yarns or is it for ready products? Because when you talk
I
about
think he would be discussing about fabrics in specific.
fabrics in specific, with the trends changing today, you cannot the operations are or the business style is not going to be the same what it used to be in the past. So one has to be extremely careful. If you assuming you have for a particular product 50 clients and you were manufacturing it today, you have to keep the same inventory, keeping in mind that it will be only for 10 clients, because you may lose one-fourth of the clientage, or say three-fourth of the clientage out here. You may only be able to sustain only one-fourth of the clientage. So large
Right,
inventory cannot be hold. One, because you financially get involved in that. Second, there is a risk factor, and you don't know how the markets are going to change. Markets are definitely going to change, but nobody can tell as on date how it's going to change.
right. And sir, what are your views on lockdown? I mean, just a casual question from my side. How long do you think this will sustain? Is May 3, as the government is saying, would be the end of lockdown, or you think it will be extended?
See, country like India, you know, we have our own different challenges. So when we talk about Europe, we know that they're going to open it in 4 phases. But when we talk about India, we have not even discussed on those 4 phases because it's too early to discuss on those 4 phases of how they're going to open it. So it's going to be extremely challenging as on date to even think when it's going to open. It may take time, because government has got their own challenges. They are willing to, or they are very keen to open, but they know what are going to be the repercussions, and what is the risk factor involved with such decisions.
Right. And what's the situation like in Poland? Is there any news on how long this would last,
See,
or
yesterday
any other European nation?
was it was earlier till 3rd of May. Now it is now extended till 15th of May.
Oh, so it's already
But
extended now.
it's already extended till 15th of May. But out here it is a lockdown, but it is not a curfew.
Okay.
People are able to move if they really want to step out. But the understanding is better. People really don't want to take a risk as compared to what we do in India.
Right, right. Like civic obedience is higher in those nations compared to our country.
Absolutely.
Right. So besides all these negative things, anything positive that we should be looking at? Anything exciting that we should be looking forward towards?
See, what do I say? Everything is positive in a way, because any change will ultimately lead to a positive growth in the market. Yes, we are facing challenges as on date. 2008, I remember 2008, 2009, turmoil, a crisis all over the world. People learned a lot of new things. They changed their way of and behavior of doing business. They were more cautious. So anything which gets us changes will make us more smart in long term. No doubt, today the industry is facing heavy losses, and larger the business, larger the losses. So MSME should be very happy in a way that the opportunities are actually going to be knocking the door soon in terms of supplying to the market.
Right. So I was reading this interesting research or data which says that most of the Fortune 500 companies were actually built after the recession.
And
So
that's right.
this, this in itself says that there's a huge opportunity that is lying ahead of us now, and it's up to us how prepared we are in actually grabbing it, right?
I will give you a good example. So 2008, 2009 crisis. And if you look at us in 2012, we were the first Indian group to be in Forbes 500, ranking 301 in Poland.
Right,
So that gave us an opportunity actually of growing our business multifold.
right. So that means there's a lot of positive opportunity that we can look forward to.
Indeed.
And if we are prepared, then probably there'll be a good growth that we can expect.
What is extremely essential as on date is, it's a management rule, as we say. There are 4 kind of checks: check, double check, recheck, again check. So that check system has to be there in terms of whatever you are doing. Don't be overconfident in terms of taking decisions and making decisions. Think over it, check it again, double check it, recheck it, again check it, and then ensure that yes, you're taking a right decision or no as on date.
Right. Anything else that you would like to add, sir?
One important point I would like to add to the industry out here is, uh, which I had mentioned earlier also. If you have a client and you feel that he is renegotiating with you on certain products which was committed in the month of, assuming January, February, or March, see, it's not that he's doing it willingly, but at least he is able to offer you a hand today, sell it, but maybe you can request him for an advance payment, 100% BL payment when we talk about exports in particular. But show him your willingness to cooperate today. and the same is going to be domestic market. क्योंकि अगर आपने उसका साथ ताज छोड़ दिया तो वो once it starts with some other company, it will be difficult for you to get that client back to your portfolio.
Right.
Renegotiations, we need to be prepared. We know we have faced this so much, in last few weeks. And please remember, we are the worst affected in a way in the entire chain. I'll tell you why to all of you. We have a lot of containers in manufacturing, a lot of containers on high sea, and huge stock in Europe. And the prices, of a particular product which we bought at $3 is already $2.40. But I spoke to my clients. Some of them, they agreed that yes, okay, we are not going to ask you for the same price like India. Let's find a midway. But then we gave them 6 months payment terms as an extra compensation for few cents what they have paid to us extra. But yes, gradually we are in a loss with today's situation.
But as long as you're moving the inventory, I think you're okay with it.
If I break my supply chain and if somebody else sells them, definitely there will be somebody who will sell the client. The client is not only going to wait for us. So let's not miss any opportunity in business, but please evaluate the safety of doing it and the right way of doing it.
Right. I think that's a very strong point, and everybody has to take that into consideration now.
Sentiments में आके मतलब नहीं है आज के दिन कि अरे long talks are not going to help, and in fact don't discuss too long in terms of negotiation, because every day the situation is going to change. Today is willing to take something, make a decision quick, but please do it. I'll give you also an example of one retailer where we knew that they were not able to take deliveries in March, April, and May, and ultimately 9 containers got piled up of home textiles. So I spoke to the retailer. I said, what, we have a situation where if I not able to keep it in my warehouse because my warehouses are full, I have to put it outside. Can I offer you long-term payment, say assuming of 1 year, and I send all the containers to your warehouse? So that way our sale is done. We know that the money is going to come, but we need to monitor it. Of course, there is a risk factor involved in that.
Right. But sir, on the contrary, जैसे कल सीआराम्स ग्रुप के ओनर पोदार जी ने एक सेशन किया था, and his appeal to the industry कि last few years our credit cycles have increased. So his appeal was that we should now focus on decreasing the credit cycle, give lesser credits. So what is your view on it?
See, there are two ways of dealing with the client. One is you give extremely sharp pricing and ask them or give them an incentive of making an immediate payment. Or second is the credit cycle is not going to go down. It's all due respect to the gentleman. I understand and respect his expertise into the industry. But let's be very honest, where is the money is not going to be the same. The cycle of money is not going to be the same the way it was. Already India was facing challenges. And with this, we're going to face more challenges.
Right.
The only thing is how to use your money in a smarter way.
So basically, your capital management will be very important going forward.
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes.
Right. ठीक है अमित जी, we thank you so much for doing this with us.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thanks to the industry also.
And we apologize to everyone whose questions we were not able to take. Actually, we've received many questions. So probably we can request Amit ji later on if we would be able to address a couple of them through emails or through message, then we can get back to you on that.
Please do circulate my mobile number and my email ID. to the people who are interested to be in touch with me. It will be a pleasure
Yes, sir.
to give them whatever
Thank-
advice or information I can give and whatever helping hand we can offer for Europe especially.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. So with this, we end the session, and we have a poll here for everybody. So we'll be starting the poll now. So Amitji, the poll is the same question that we had asked you, which is when do you think the lockdown will end? But this is specifically to India. And people are voting now, and so far I think 49% of people have said that it would, in their opinion, be June first week.
I wish what they're polling for or what they mentioned comes true. The metro cities are going to face, a big challenge on this specifically.
Right, especially Bombay and Pune. Mumbai and Pune today morning they've already said that it might extend till June end also.
And now that's the thing.
Okay, I think it's time we close the poll. Almost 82% people have voted, and 49% people have voted June first week. Then 24% saying June end, 16% 3rd May, and 11% saying July or later. ठीक है अमित जी, thank you once again so much for doing this and for spending time.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care, sir.
Bye.